You mentioned power, and I was flipping back through Jesus and John Wayne just before the interview, just to look for any connection points. And one of the things that I thought was really fascinating is around the section where we talked about the independent Baptist world, which I had copious underlines for our last interview. You mentioned that for a community that believes in the existence of sin, conservative evangelicals were curiously nonchalant about the dangers of unchecked power when that power is placed in the hands of a patriarch. Watching For Our Daughters and hearing Pastor Len Vander Zee talk about the last and most powerful temptation of Christ being power, like the connection was so strong. And that quote from him was like the jaw drop moment for me watching it.
The last and perhaps the most powerful temptation of Jesus was when he was brought up to a high mountain and the devil said to him, "I will give you all the nations of the world if you only bow down to me." And Jesus refused. Now, people today are claiming that the church needs to have the power over other people, which it strikes me as exactly the same temptation that came to Jesus on that mountain. And Jesus said no. He said no because power corrupts. It always corrupts.
He's actually my own pastor, right? There's a reason you probably don't know his name. He's not famous. But when the director said, we really should have a man's voice in here. We should talk about, that this isn't the only way to be a Christian and so on, and kind of gave some of the usual suspects, which of these guys should we ask to come into this film? And that's when I said, well, how about we not go with the usual suspects? How about we just ask my pastor? This was my pastor for years when I was in graduate school, and now he's the pastor of my own local church again. And he said, sure. And I thought it was very important to hear, this is the Christianity that has shaped me. It is a very different understanding of power. To be a Christian is to offer yourselves up, to follow a Christ who offered himself up, who divested himself of power. And it is no easy thing to do. And we fail all the time, right? Calvinist here, but it is what we are called to do. And we are not called to give into the temptation of grasping for power, and certainly not baptizing that and pretending like that is a godly and righteous thing to do.